The Underground Railroad, historically, is seen by probably 90% of Americans as a bunch of hiding places. In reality, it was a shared interest that every culture in the world has about being free.
On the banks of the Ohio River stands the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center, a 5-story museum built to pay tribute to the centuries of struggles faced by enslaved people.
I'm Carl B. Westmoreland. I'm the senior historian here at the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center. Freedom Center, physically, where you're sitting, is in, historically, a community called Little Africa. Here on the waterfront of what in the 1830s through the 1870s was America's 6th largest city, if you can imagine. The black community began to form on the riverfront, looking for freedom, looking for work, and looking for opportunities to become educated. Physically, we're 250 miles south of the Canadian border. We were the only city of any size between here and Canada at that time. So it was important just geographically. It was a 30-day walk if you were unimpeded. For many people, it was a walk that didn't even get started. Some people settled here or on points in between here and the Canadian-United States border.
Cincinnati's history, location, and community made it the ideal location to open the Freedom Center.
The decision to open the building or to create the National Underground Freedom Center was as a result of almost 200 years of conflict between the white community and the black community, number one. Number two, at the same time, there were forces here that were willing to allow people of African descent to become a part of the community, but they were in the minority. They were called abolitionists. It is a very pretty city, but at the same time, it's a conflicted community that models in reality where we are in America and have been since its founding. Not only were the roads we traveled unpaved, not only was the work we did hard and ugly, but we did it not only for little or no monetary compensation, but we did it at the risk of our lives. So in Cincinnati, we built the Freedom Center to celebrate the good side of the community's history. For example, Solomon P. Chase lived here. Who was Solomon P. Chase? He not only was the nephew of the Episcopal Bishop of Ohio, but he was the Supreme Court Justice who was there when the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment was signed, and he went to Lincoln advocating that after having lived here and represented enslaved people for nothing. He never got paid. We didn't have it, but he was wealthy, he was open, and he saw us as human beings. But that's a story you don't hear. And those kind of stories exist in this community. The people who put this organization together said there's another reality also, and we want to celebrate it. And hopefully we want that to become a part of the dominant educational and cultural force. So that's what our task is to put both sides of the history on the table and hopefully help the community grow to celebrate the good things about our environment.
We now return to the unseen world. Cincinnati's National Underground Railroad Freedom Center helps to tell the histories of the African Americans who braved death and torture to help lead more than 30,000 slaves to freedom.
We helped each other. It was when you got here that Sometimes the helping occurred that was more open and universal. But by and large, it was about us assisting each other and then being able to approach white individuals and organizations on a level of equity.
When the Freedom Center was being planned, its founders wanted to ensure that every aspect of the center was created with the struggles and history of the Black community in mind. Unique design elements, including the undulating shape of the marble and the fact that it's turned rough side out instead of being sleek and polished.
There is nothing in Black America about our experience as being smooth and objectionless. It's just the opposite. The design of the building is a reflection of the waves of the North Atlantic. It's also a reflection of water that either took us to freedom or was an obstacle to our getting there. The building that you're in was designed by a Black couple from Indianapolis, Indiana, Walter and Alpha Blackburn. And they were both graduates, college and high school sweethearts from Indianapolis who attended Howard University. We spent $69 million bringing Walter's dream to reality. The beauty of this building was done by these two people who came from one of the toughest neighborhoods in Indianapolis. And look at it, it's world-class design. It is the most beautiful structure on this riverfront, bar none. And it was done by people who, in going to Howard University and doing what they had to do, it was done as a result of 7 generations of excellence in terms of handling stone. So that's what we have to do universally. It's not just here in Cincinnati. First, we have to understand that we have the same capacity as anybody else and the same responsibility. The marble that encases the building, a gentleman from the neighborhood that I grew up in, he and his 5 sons laid every one of those stones. The man who laid them went to Italy with the president of Procter & Gamble and picked every stone in this building.
The exhibits at the Freedom Center are stunningly designed, not only recording individual stories of escaped slaves, abolitionists, and activists, but also featuring works that chart the cultural experiences of the African American community, such as Amina Brenda Lynn Robinson's Raganon.
Raganon is a series of hand-sewn pieces of every kind of scrap material this lady could get her hands on. A Black woman whose family came from South Carolina, who grew up in Columbus, Ohio, has this wonderful display that replicates the history of our coming to America and the things with which we had to contend and the things that we began to influence and began to influence us. And when you see it, it takes up an entire wall. It must be 14 foot high, at least. And this one person did it. A person who had a double mastectomy, who had radiation and chemotherapy treatments, whose skin turned dark, cracked, and her dad told her, "You're still pretty. And you have this beauty in you, and make something, just make something, and you'll feel better." Well, she started making these things, and the MacArthur Foundation found out about it, and they gave her a Genius Grant. It's a part of the indigenous culture of the quilt-making community that exists not only in Black America, but in all of our indigenous communities. You know, Irish ladies, and German ladies, and Native Americans, you know, we all have to deal with winter. And in many cases, it's not only been utilitarian, but it has become a way of expressing one's culture and beauty. And so when you see that, it's just unique, not only historically, but artistically. And it's powerful. I see it every day almost, and never get tired of seeing something new. It's like jazz, or it's like the blues in our community. You all of a sudden hear a lick that you hadn't heard before.
The center's dominant artifact is the slave pen, a cramped two-story log structure built in 1830, found and moved from a Kentucky farm. The building was used by slave traders to imprison enslaved people before being taken for sale.
They would gather and store people of African descent 2 blocks east of the White House. And when they got enough people, they would march them to the water, put them on boats, and take them to the slave markets in New Orleans. In the state of Kentucky, which is only a half mile across the river, is a small town called Maysville, Kentucky. And there was a slave dealer there who would go to auctions, and he would go to farmers and plantation owners that he heard were having financial difficulties, and he would buy black people who were then walked 780 miles to the slave market in Natchez, Mississippi. We have 802 pages of documentation about what happened to those people, who did what. And when I was younger, when we first started, and I was working on the exhibit, they allowed me to walk, to drive, take a camera person with me for 6 weeks, following the routes that they took and learning from the records what happened to them, about black women who watched their children taken away from them and sold to someone, and they never saw them again, about black men who watched their wives stripped and then turned around and offered for sale. This building, the slave pen, rebukes a lot of the myths about America. Why was the slave pen important? Because almost 2 million people of African descent were moved from the coast to the land that we bought when we bought it from the French for the Louisiana Purchase. Now the myth is the settlers, the European settlers came in and cleared the land. The truth is, the 2 million black people preceded them. They drained the swamps. They dealt with the vermin. They dealt with the malaria. In 1863, annually, the value of enslaved labor in America, according to Ira Berlin, was $3 billion, and in today's money, that would translate into $25 billion of free labor.
The Unseen World will be right back. We now return to The Unseen World. The Freedom Center's primary goal is to stand as a repository for truths of American history that many choose to forget, and its mission continues even today, applying the lessons of the past to modern inequalities and challenging its visitors to ask themselves, what is freedom?
If the truth is not told, then we'll continue to be limited by our perception of what we can do. We didn't come here to do anything other than what happened, and that is build the world's leading economy. The exhibits on advocacy today and things that are current are extensions of what we've been talking about. When you look at the exhibits, if you don't attach the current reality to what you're looking at, it just becomes a diversion. So again, our task is to not only talk about or exhibit in a way that gets your attention, but then invite you to get involved in helping become a part of the solution. It's an ongoing process. People are still uncomfortable with the discussions of, there's nothing magic about our being here other than that we're here. But it's a day-to-day struggle getting people to relax or to just open up. Okay, I won't agree, but I'll go. I'll look at it. Let's talk about all of it. And in the process, it'll help us grow as a community, as a country.
The spirit of the Underground Railroad lives on today as it uses its examination of history to identify the modern needs of the community and to find solutions that pave the way to a brighter future for everyone.
The Underground Railroad has evolved today in looking at opportunities to improve our communities locally and ultimately worldwide, and involving as many people as possible. Running and hiding didn't free you, but the opportunity to get an education, the opportunity to become a constructive part of the economy and of the culture means that the whole society benefits. Down being physically free, how about your intellectual license? How about being able to show your sons that I'm as good at what I do as anybody? Young men in our community who don't know those kinds of stories think that being smart is being white. Being smart means that you have the same intelligence that the people who built the university at Timbuktu in Mali, West Africa in the year 1100. We were smart when we came here. We just didn't speak English. We didn't read English. But we don't tell our young people that. You're free when you get to be who you are. That's our history, and that's our challenge. And so what we're about is examining those truths and then doing what we can to help make it so that there's a tomorrow for all of us.
Get on board. I've got on board. I've got on board. I've got on board. Oh, that's I'll get on board. I'll get on board. Just get on board. There's room for many more.
The Unseen World will be right back. We now return to the Unseen World. The National Underground Railroad Freedom Center is located in downtown Cincinnati. It's open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday and Monday from noon to 5. Tickets are $15 for adults, $10.50 for children, and $13 for seniors. For more information and to find out about current and upcoming exhibits, visit them online at freedomcenter.org.